What's up, my YouTube family? So I wanted to come on here really quickly just to say that I put together a plethora of really cute Valentine's DIYs. And once again, your girl got a little bit extra, and once those creative juices got flowing, I just took it over the top. And so the video ran really, really long. So I ended up having to cut it into two parts. So this is going to be a two-parter. So that's why I wanted to come on just to tell you to look out for that second. So whether you joined into part one or part two, I just wanted to say that there is a second part to this video, so be on the lookout for that. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please give this video a thumbs up. It will help my channel out a lot, especially at a time when YouTube is making all these stipulations and changing up all their rules and regulations, and it's affecting small channels such as mine. So with that said, I don't know what the future has in store for my channel or for me, but I do hope you're going to be in it. And with that being said, don't forget to look out for the second part of this video. And if you smash that notification bell, then YouTube will notify you each time I upload new content. Mwah. Love you. Bye-bye. So what you're going to need are two floral foam logs from the floral section at Dollar Tree. A pack of foiled sheets, and this is in a 20 pack in a variety of colors. Sorry for the glare. Some diamond bling wrap, and this is the 5 roll. A pack of salad plates from the party section, and these are plastic. Some Beacon Magnatac 809 liquid silicone glue. Pair of scissors. A can of Rust-Oleum white semi-gloss paint or color of choice, and it doesn't have to be Rust-Oleum brand, it could be any brand. A plastic storage container with lid, and this is from the Dollar Tree. And this is a plaster pedestal candle holder. And lastly, I picked up 4 bushels of floral from the floral section, and these are just white roses. And this is all you're going to be needing for this next DIY. So for time and video purposes, I went ahead and I wrapped the container in the foil sheet. And I didn't like quite how it came out because there was just too many seams. So I found this packaging material that I had on hand, and it's just this foam sheet. And I was able to cut out one continuous piece out of it and wrap it around the entire container. And I did go ahead and glue that down right on top of the foil sheet just in case there was any transparency issues. So now that I have my foam sheet all glued down, the next step is to glue down the diamond wrap. And I'm showing you here that there is a seam in the back, but that's inevitable. And that's not going to bother me because I rather have one seam as opposed to many. And I'm showing you here that I measured out my diamond wrap so that I can wrap it around the container. And I'm going to be starting right at that seam using some of the liquid silicone glue, and I'm going to start at that seam so that it ends at the exact same spot on that seam, and you'll see. And what I like about this glue is that not only is it forgiving, but it's cool to the touch, which is a good thing. And with the hot glue gun, it leaves a lot of those strings, those, I like to call them spider webs, and this glue doesn't, so that's a good thing. So now that we added our diamond wrap to the entire perimeter of this container, just shy of this last piece here that I'm showing you, I'm adding some glue to that end piece just to close it out. And we're going to be ending it right where we started at that seam. Now that we close this out, this is what it looks like. And now what's left to do is to add another piece of that same diamond wrap to the top portion of the container, just so that it looks symmetrical. Following the same steps as the previous, we're going to be adding the bling to the top portion of the container, starting at that top seam. And we're going to continue gluing down the diamond wrap all around the perimeter of the container as we did with the previous one on the bottom. And just continue to add glue and wrap it around. Now that we added the bling wrap around the entire top perimeter, just shy of this last piece, we're going to be gluing down this last part here and closing it out just as we did in the previous one. And all I'm showing you here is that we're going to be closing it out and ending it exactly at the same seam where we started. So now that we closed it out, this is what it looks like. So now that my glue completely dried, I was able to add my floral foam inside the container in preparation for adding my florals. No requirement of any kind of special tools necessary. This stuff cuts like butter. I was able to manipulate it just with using a regular old kitchen knife, as you see here inside the container. And now I'm ready to add my florals and my foliage inside my little box. So I wanted to show you that I went ahead and added this decal to the front here. And this is just one of those Dollartree decals that say they adhere to metal, glass, ceramic, and it comes with two in a pack, a large and a small. And it says it glues to mobile devices and it's removable. So this is why I added it, because initially I was going to print something off the internet to add here, but in the interest of keeping everything all Dollar Tree products, I decided to go ahead and use this decal. I also went ahead and pierced a couple of holes ahead of time in preparation for my florals using this skewer. And it's just a regular shish kebab skewer, so I did that ahead of time too. So now we're going to go ahead and prepare our florals to add it into the container. And so I'm just going to remove any stickers like such with my scissors and get that out of the way, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab my trusty wire cutters and start clipping away so that I can add to my container. And I'm also going to be discarding or removing the green leaves because I'm not going to be using that in this project. I'm only going to be using the white rose. So I'm going to be measuring it for height against the container and use that as a template for the other flowers. So here I'm showing that I got all my roses cut down to length and I removed all of the leaves. So now it's time to start assembling. So I'm going to start by adding my roses into the container and going all around the perimeter of the container first, doing it one by one and getting them as closely together as possible without leaving any spacing. And it's just very simple, pretty much following the row of holes that I had previously did with the skewer. And so that was the purpose of pre-doing the holes with the skewer. So I'm just going to continue to go all around one by one on in the edge until I get to where I started from. So this is what it looks like now that I went all around the edge. And so this is the space that's left in the center to fill. And so far it's coming along. And I'm just going to close out that center by putting the last florals. And by the way, I took 4 bushels to fill this container. So it took 3 for the outside, and then this is the final bushel of roses that I'm going to be adding to the center to complete the floral box. And so I'm just adding everywhere that I see there's space and fluffing out the roses as I go along so that there's no spacing or any of that green floral foam showing. And so everywhere I see a little space, I'm just going to add a rose, which is what you see me doing here. And filling it out one by one. And I believe this is the last rose. And that's it. There you have it. The floral box is complete. And I just think it came out so good. I love it. It exceeded my expectations. It gave me a little bit of trouble at the beginning, but the payoff was so worth it. I'm loving this, and I can't wait to display it with the rest of my Valentine decor. So I like to call this next project a 2-for because you're getting 2 for the price of 1. If you notice, this is the top of that storage container that we converted into a flower box. And I'm opening up a pack of these salad plates from the party section. And we're going to be spray painting the top of this container as well as the party plate. We're going to turn it opaque white simply because we don't want any transparency issues. I don't know if the silver is going to show through the storage container lid. And we're going to hit that pedestal candle with a shot of that spray paint too, just to touch it up and tie it all in together. So you want to shake your can vigorously and start by dispensing short, even bursts as opposed to a continual spraying so that you don't get any running. And that's the best way to assure even coverage. So after about 20 minutes in of drying, we're going to take this plate and put it to the side because there's no need to spray the underside because it's already white. We're going to be flipping over the lid of the container as well as the pedestal and give it another shot of that spray paint. And then after about another 20 minutes of it drying, we'll be able to start assembling our DIY. So 20 minutes have passed and everything is nice and dry. So we're going to check for any imperfections. And it appears everything is nice and opaque and there's nothing that needs to be touched up. So I guess we can go ahead and move on to the next step, which is putting everything together. And what I'm going to show you here is that this pedestal has a lip, but we're not going to use that side. We're going to be flipping it over and using the underside, which will secure a better fit because the party plate will lay flat on this portion. So we're going to be centering it onto the party platter as such. So we're going to need to apply a nice generous amount of that liquid silicone glue, which is what you're going to be seeing me doing here. And at this time you want to take your time and just go around all the edges and get plenty of that glue in the center because this is going to hold all the weight of whatever you sit on top. So once you get your glue on, you're going to center it as best as you can right in the middle of that plate, and you're going to press it in place to secure. So now that we've given the glue a chance to cure, we're going to go ahead and proceed to the next step, which is to adhere the pedestal to the top of the lid container. So what you're going to see me doing here next is applying a nice generous amount of that liquid silicone glue once again to the top of this party platter. And we're going to be generous just as in the previous step. We're going to take our time and go slowly because this glue is very forgiving, so we can take our time with it. And we're going to get plenty of that glue around the edges and in the center to assure a nice seal. So now that we got the glue down, the next step is to apply it to the top of the lid container by flipping it upside down as such, placing it in the center and pressing it into place and holding it for a few seconds. So this is the final product, and I'm going to turn it around so that you can see it from all angles. And it just looks like something that was already purchased like this. I'm loving this scalloped edge. It just gave it a nice finished look. And there's no transparency issues because we spray painted that silver on the party plate so you can't see through. And I'm just loving it. Nothing about this screams DIY, and I can't wait to use it in my decor. It's nice and secure, and so I can't wait to display it. So what I'm showing you here is that I already took the liberty of gluing down some candle wicks to the inside of this heart-shaped dish. And this is just from the Art Minds company, and they're just regular candle wicks, and I got these at Michael's. And so I already glued them down. It's hard to see. I glued 3 inside, and I'm showing you the back side so you can get a better view. And I glued the 3 down. So now what I got going on here is in this tub I graded, this is a regular box grater, and I graded a couple of pillar candles that I had handy, and I graded them into this bucket, and I also graded a red candle that I had too. And I'm also gonna throw in a couple of red crayons, and I had some more regular red candles as well, and I'm just gonna try to mix that all in because I want the candle to be like a pinkish red color. And so I'm going to be melting that down and pouring it into the heart-shaped dish. So I'll show you how that goes. So this is the wax all melted down and ready to pour into the heart-shaped dish. But before I pour it, I wanted to show you that I did go ahead and add some of these peppermint essential oils to the wax, and these are 2 different kind of peppermint essential oils that I had on hand, and I added a few drops to them to give the candle a peppermint scent because the wax was unscented. And so now I'm going to try to proceed with caution here, and it's going to be pretty difficult to navigate this wax in this bowl. So I'm going to pour it into this Pyrex measuring cup because it has a pouring spout and it'll be easier to manage. So I'm going to start from the dip end of the heart, pouring slowly and carefully not to burn myself. And as you see here, the wax wicks are falling to the side, so I'm trying to keep them in the center here. So to keep the candle wicks from falling into the wax, I decided to add this skewer and clip them all together with this chip clip, and that'll hold it in place. So here's my finished product, guys. And I went ahead and glued down some of this Dollartree ribbon around the perimeter of the glass heart. And I tied a bow to the dip. And I'm showing you the candle from the back. Here's the bow and the dip. And it's got a wonderful scent, guys. It smells like peppermint candy cane, and it's got a nice weight to it too, and I'm loving the color. I wanted it to be not too pink and not too red, and that's exactly what I got. So overall, I'm very pleased with the way it turned out. So what we're going to need here is some of this Mod Podge, a paintbrush, and a palette or something to put your Mod Podge in, a burlap ribbon, and a bag of conversation hearts, this cute little bobblehead dog that I got at Dollar Tree, and this gift bag that I already took the liberty of cutting down to size for this project, as you see here. And we're also going to be needing one of these coin banks from the Dollar Tree that I already spray painted. It was black and I spray painted it white. And as you see, it has the little coin slot on the top. And originally, this was the original image that came with it, and it had these umbrellas, and it said saving for a rainy day, and it also had this glass, which we're not going to be using on this project. So what we're going to be doing next is we're going to Mod Podge this paper from the gift bag onto this board. So we're going to get started by pouring our Mod Podge into this palette, and we're going to jump right into this project. We're going to get busy and put this Mod Podge right onto this chipboard as opposed to the paper itself. We're going to just put a generous amount all over this chipboard. We're going to do even strokes from top to bottom and try to get all the corners, get in those corners really good to make sure that paper really adheres to this chipboard. So you want to assure to get a nice even amount. And so I'm adjusting the camera so you can get a better view. And so I'm started on one side and I'm working my way from one end to the other, making sure to get all the corners and nice even strokes from top to bottom. So once I have my entire chipboard covered in the Mod Podge, then I'll be ready to adhere the paper to the chipboard. And so pretty much I think I've just about covered the entire board. And so now I'm ready to adhere the paper. So instead of putting the paper on to the chipboard, I'm just going to flip it over right on top of that paper to give it an even press seal. And that's it. Now I flip it over and smooth out all the air bubbles and get out any excess Mod Podge. So while our Mod Podge is drying, we're going to go ahead and get ready to attach this little guy to the front of the shadow box by adding some of this glue and adhering it on to the shadow box. So we're just going to go ahead and put a nice generous amount of glue on the bottom of the feet. So now we got our glue down and we're going to go ahead and put this bad boy right inside the shadow box and try to push the front of his feet up as close to the ledge on the shadow box as possible. Firmly hold it in place, give it a good press down for 2 to 3 minutes and just hold it there while it adheres. So here's this little cutie. So DIYs are all about trial and error and you learn as you go. So how about I Mod Podge the gift wrap paper to the wrong side of the chipboard, and when I went to close out the shadow box, it wouldn't because it was obviously the wrong way. So I ended up having to put this contrast paper on the back of the shadow box because it left a rough surface once I removed the paper. And I initially was going to leave it white, and I kind of like the way it looks with that paper in the back. So everything happens for a reason. So now that all there's left to do is to add these conversation hearts to the front. And I'm not going to worry about the top where the coin slot is because I'm going to be adding that burlap ribbon off to the right there that you see. And that's going to camouflage the coin slot. So I'm just going to basically be adding a conversation heart to the front frame, so to speak. So I'm going to start in the right hand corner, and then I'm going to see how it looks after I place one in each corner, how many I really want to put in between to fill it out. And I'll be figuring that out as I go along. And so here I'm just going to put the next heart on the opposite corner. And so you get the gist. I'm going to start one in each corner and work my way from there. So I'm gluing down these next couple of hearts. I got so far one in each corner, and then I'm going to put one right smack in the middle of each side. And so far I think that pattern looks cute. And so I'm going to put this next one right in the middle. And then I think I could use one more right in the bottom center as well, right underneath the little dog's book. So we're going to put one more there, and then we can start working on that burlap ribbon. So we're just going to peel the backing off of this little doodad and put it right smack in the center. And I think that's enough for the conversation hearts. It looks cute, and sometimes less is more. And so I'm satisfied with that so far. So once I glued the base of the ribbon onto the coin slot, I just put a generous amount of glue onto the ribbon itself and attached it to that base ribbon and press it in place for 2 to 3 minutes while it adheres. So here's the final reveal, guys, and I'm going to give you a close-up look, and I'm going to turn it around and give you a view of the back as well as the top with the ribbon and the conversation hearts in the front. And I just think this little guy came out so cute. And the beauty about this project is that nothing is really permanent. And so if I wanted to switch it out seasonally, let's say for Easter, for example, I can just take out the conversation hearts, maybe add a little bunny or something, and change it up like that from season to season. So I think that that's a plus. And so I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I enjoyed making it for you. So to put together this DIY pennant banner, what you're going to need are a pair of scissors, some heart-shaped felt from the Dollar Tree, some of this burlap ribbon with the lace in the center, and some jute rope. And so I went and measured out a piece of the jute rope to the length that I wanted. And I tied a little loop on each end of the jute rope. And this is where the pennant banner is going to be hanging from. And then I went and I put together about a half a dozen of these pennants that are going to hang from the jute rope. And they're very simple to make. All I did was cut about a 3-inch piece of that burlap, and I folded one flap over on the top, and this is going to hang from the jute rope. And then next what you're going to want to do here is fold it in half. Make sure that the two wires are touching each other. and then you're going to cut it from the wire edge up. So here I'm taking one of the already made pieces and measure it for the length, and then I'm cutting from the wire edge up to achieve that point at the tip. And this is going to assure that I get that, triangle pennant look that I'm going for. And so now you just want to measure it against the other one. And they don't have to be perfect, guys. Remember, this is handmade. But if you're a little borderline OCD like me, then you just measure it up against one of the ones that you already made and give it a little trim, and you should be all right. And so once I trim this up here, you'll see that it's going to be just right. And then next, all you have to do is glue down the felt heart to it. Now, these felt hearts are, they have adhesive on the back of them, and you really don't have